years since Katrina, new technology has made storm forecasting more accurate, both in tracking a storm's path and its intensity. Those advancements save lives and property, but could now be at risk because of proposed changes at the federal level. Dorothea has more.
Katrina hit, there's all this bad weather, right? And then in the aftermath, most people probably remember it got very hot, it was dry, the weather was quiet. So I was kind of begging my news director, send me down. I want to do some reporting. And being from there, I kind of wanted to put my eyes on everything myself. But once you got down there, it was tough.
Dr. Steve Caparata, a native of New Orleans and a meteorologist in Baton Rouge, recalls the days immediately following Hurricane Katrina's devastating impact on the place he once called home. Nothing looked the same to the weatherman. At the time, he was responsible for delivering weather reports and updates about the area. But he struggled to process the destruction he was witnessing and couldn't utter a word.
As we stood on the dry side in Jefferson Parish and looked across into Lakeview, all I could think about was I grew up with so many of those families that now had rooftop water.
Forecasts for Hurricane Katrina's path in 2005 were relatively accurate compared to long-term averages. However, its rapid intensification into a Category 5 storm surprised meteorologists and grew into one of the most catastrophic storms in history.
Hurricane Katrina.
It was tough to see.
The devastation caused by Katrina spurred a new wave of research, technology, and modeling aimed at ensuring the public have as much time as possible to prepare or evacuate.
Think back to 2005. There was so much, I think, confusion with weather forecasting. You know, for decades and decades, we had a lot of great technology, right?
Yeah.
We had radar, we had satellite, we had tools to forecast, but compared to modern day technology, we were only scratching the surface of what we now have.
Meteorologist and weather expert Scott Pelier says since Hurricane Katrina in 2005, weather technology has advanced significantly.
So for example, today we have the cone of uncertainty, but we actually have a lot more certainty in that cone than we had then. It really was the cone of uncertainty. So at that point, the cone was reliable-ish through 2 to 3 days.
Okay.
Now we have a 5-day cone.
What?
Right? And the error that we have at day 5 in present day is equivalent to the 2 to 3 day cone that we had then. Our forecast modeling has become so far advanced and improved that now we can trim down that cone, and that makes a lot of people feel much better about the forecast. Or way worse if you're within that cone.
The latest technology also includes enhanced hurricane models, increased use of satellite data, improved radar systems, and the integration of AI for more accurate and longer-range predictions. There has even been improvements in emergency response and data visualization tools.
When we think about Katrina, we think about the satellite images that came out that morning of the 28th. When Katrina was a Category 5, it went from a Category 3 to a Category 5 overnight, and people woke up and thought to themselves, oh my goodness, this is the storm that we all feared, right?
Yes.
And satellite data at the time, what you said, was that we only got fresh satellite scans every 15 minutes.
Wow.
We have mesoscale, so very small, very hyper-localized satellites now that can give us scans well above the clouds, tells us what's going on within the inner workings of these powerful storms. 30 to 60 seconds.
What?
New scans.
From 15 minutes to 30 seconds. So what does that, talk to me, what does that do for people?
So satellites are critical to our ability to analyze how a storm is strengthening or weakening, right? So the more scans that we get, the better a meteorologist can project what a storm may do in the future.
Oh, wow.
So if we're getting new scans let's say on the high end,
Yeah.
every 3 to 6 minutes rather than 15 minutes,
Yeah.
that data goes into forecast models. It goes into so many different elements of weather forecasting to make my job hopefully easier, right? Those advancements in technology are so critical
Yes.
to getting the forecast right.
With all of the advancements, technology, science, and brainpower put into trying to keep Hurricane Katrina a thing of the past, recent cuts to National Weather Service could undo some of the progress we've made. Both Dr. Caparata and Scott say the cuts should be a major concern to us all.
If you start taking away the tools,
Yeah.
then people aren't able to prepare as effectively. So with proposed budget cuts to NOAA and National Weather Service offices, we've already seen cuts. And I say death by 1,000 cuts, right? If you continue to chip away at those things, then you start to strip meteorologists and atmospheric forecasters from being able to give people that comfort, that confidence, that belief in the things that we've grown more accustomed to. So we don't want to go backwards. And the proposed budget cuts in 2026 would significantly reduce a lot of technology advancements. So that's my concern, is that I am a scientist and a meteorologist, but I'm also a resident.
There's one impact we have seen. Most people, I think, at least have heard of weather balloons. We release those from a number of cities around the country twice a day. Well, with some of the cuts that have come in the federal government, some of those locations have now cut down to once a day. And that also impacts our weather models. That data is crucial. So if we start reducing the frequency of those weather balloons and the weather balloon launches, that can impact the forecast accuracy. So that's one area that we've seen some signs of a little bit of trouble developing. And then there's been some back and forth as it relates specifically to the National Hurricane Center and a group that's known as the Hurricane Research Division, which is kind of tied into the Hurricane Center. That Hurricane Research Division, as their name implies, their key task is research, and they have really been credited with a lot of the important improvements we've seen in hurricane forecasts over the last couple of decades.
Now, while the final outcome of Weather Service cuts remain uncertain, scientist and executive director of Pontchartrain Conservancy, Christy Trail, says we must also rely on natural defenses to weather the next storm.
We also need natural systems such as barrier islands and our wetlands. Those two things have to work together, both the natural infrastructure as well as the man-made infrastructure of levees and floodwalls. Neither one can work alone. We need both of those to work together, and it's what we call the multiple lines of defense.
Wetlands act as a significant buffer against storm surges. For every 2.5 miles of wetlands, storm surge is reduced by 1 foot. This is an important consideration when storms approach. And since Katrina, just like man-made weather technology advancements, there have also been advancements made to our wetlands. And together, they give us a stronger defense.